Guys, I don't know what to say. Geely, the Geely Automotive Group are just absolutely killing it. I mean, they have so many brands. I can't keep up with all the brands they have, let alone models they have. Geely and BYD, I mean, you've got to admit, very likely that they're going to be the two biggest automakers in the world by 2030. Almost seems inevitable considering the pace of growth of both companies. But to be honest, guys, Geely are definitely ahead of BYD when it comes to electric car technology. They're focusing on EVs. Their EV sales have grown by about 101% this year. BYDs are up 2%. I'm talking purely EVs. So really big growth, and cars like this one are a big part of the reason for their growth. Lynk Co.'s new EV, it's built on the same platform as the Zeekr 001. You guys all know I love the 001. It's a similar size car, and it's an absolute bargain. I mean, this thing is ridiculous. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Guys, if you'd like to join us on Patreon or as a YouTube member, I'd be stoked. That'd be awesome. And it really does help support the channel. So I'll put the links for those platforms in the description. Lynk Co vehicles will be sold outside of China. They're actually preparing to launch them in Europe. Don't know about right-hand drive yet, as in the UK, Australia, Japan, Thailand, etc. But I do know that they are going to Europe, which is pretty cool. The starting base price, right, for the Lynk Co Z10, which is, like I said, the same platform as the Zeekr 001, the same length, the same overall length as the 001, not quite as practical. Obviously, it's more of a sedan shape, unfortunately. But it's $8,800 cheaper than the Zeekr 001. So $9,000 cheaper. That's a big difference. And it means the starting price is a pretty staggering $27,800. I don't know how Tesla's selling cars in China. I mean, vehicles like this and the Zeekr 001 are just unbelievable. What about the Zeekr 007? I mean, unbelievable cars. What about other brands' cars? I mean, Xpeng's cars. What about the new Mona 06? They're selling for $16,800. Unbelievable. All right, what is good about this car? Why am I talking about it? Why did I make a video about it? Well, first of all, price is amazing. This is a 5-meter long car. In fact, it's a bit longer than 5 meters. It's big. It's $28,600, right, for the starting price. But if you pre-order it early, you get it for $25,900. $25,900. So the prices: base model, $27,000. $30,000 for the rear-wheel drive Max, which gets a bigger battery pack. Therefore, it has more range. Range for the base model is 602 kilometers. Now, that's CLTC. So I'll give you the CLTC figure, and then I'll give you an approximate WLTP. 600 kilometers, approximately 540 kilometers WLTP. The Max, which, like I said, is $30,000, 766 kilometers of range. That's CLTC. You're going to get around about probably 670 WLTP. 670 though, that's still a lot of range, right? Now, if you get the rear-wheel drive Smart Max, that has the longest range. It's got the biggest battery pack, and that one will give you 806 kilometers of range. 806 kilometers, that's about probably 740 kilometers WLTP real-world range. Massive, massive range. So they have 5 different models for this vehicle. The cheaper models, right, are built on the 400 volt platform. That's the same as the Zeekr 001. The cheaper models are 400 volt. The more expensive versions are on an 800 volt platform. Therefore, they do charge faster. It gets a lithium iron phosphate battery, and I believe that is the new Geely Blade battery. The Aegis battery has 192 watt hours per kilogram in terms of energy density, one of the highest energy density batteries in the world. To give you some context, or for comparison's sake, the BYD Blade battery has around 160 to 165 watt hours per kilogram energy density. So it's actually a very high energy density battery. The battery also is capable of charging at, I believe, it's 600 kilowatt charging speeds. And I've actually seen that in person in the real world. I've seen the Zeekr 001 charging at that speed. It's pretty staggering. I know we don't have 600 kilowatt chargers yet in Australia, in Europe, in America, Canada, but they will exist. It's just a matter of time, right? It's like having a future-proof vehicle. The cheapest version has a 200 kilowatt rear-wheel drive motor. I've driven the 001 with a 200 kilowatt rear-wheel drive motor. I don't believe it's 200 kilowatt, guys. I think it's more than that. They say 200. You drive it and you're like, what the fuck? Is this 200 kilowatt? This feels like 300. So very good, very powerful motors. Rear-wheel drive, very fun rear-wheel drive actually. The rear-wheel drive version was probably more fun than the all-wheel drive. 71 kilowatt hour battery, giving you 602 kilometers of CLTC range. So the reason for that long range is, like I said, that higher energy density LFP battery. However, the more expensive version, right, with that longer range, around 750 kilometers WLTP, has a 95 kilowatt hour battery pack. The rear-wheel drive Smart Max version delivers 806 kilometers of CLTC range. Now, going to get less range with this model, comes with a bigger battery, but the all-wheel drive version, that gets 310 kilowatt rear motor and a 270 kilowatt front motor. So you're looking at what? Nearly 600 kilowatt. What's that, about 850 horsepower? This thing's fast. It'll do 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But what's more ridiculous than that is the charging speed. Chargers, you can add 573 kilometers of range using the right charger, of course, in 15 minutes. 573 kilometers of range in 15 minutes with its 800 volt fast charging system and, of course, its LFP batteries. Those short blade batteries will charge much faster than a long blade battery. That's a big difference between the Geely battery and BYD's battery. The short blade Geely discovered will charge much faster, and it has other benefits as well. So that's probably one thing where BYD might be going, oh, actually, that was a good idea. We should have thought of that. The short blades do seem to make more sense. The thermal management is very, very similar. They're both very, very safe batteries though. So what else do we know about this car? Well, for starters, all right, the size exactly is 5,028 millimeters, 1,966 millimeters in width, and 1,468 millimeters high. It's a similar size to a Tesla Model S, tiny, tiny bit bigger. Now, technically, it's called you'd say this is a large electric sedan. At the rear, it has a multi-link suspension, and it has front double wishbone suspension as well. It's got dual chamber air suspension. I'm going to guess that's not for all models. The more expensive models have air suspension, the cheaper ones won't. It is actually the first Chinese production car to have an AMD chipset, which is called the AMO V2000A. It's apparently twice as fast as a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8295. Now, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8295, that's considered the fastest automotive chip in the industry right now. It's like the best. That's what you want in your car. Most Chinese consumers are aware of that, and therefore they often will make sure that their car has that. But now the new AMD V2000A chip says it's 1.8 times faster, so much faster than that. And it powers the 12.3 digital instrument panel. Not sure what that means, 12.3.1. It's got a 15.4 inch floating multimedia display and artificial reality heads-up display, which basically covers the most of the screen, which is kind of amazing. Covers most of the windscreen, but you can see through it, you can adjust it. Yeah, one thing to point out, the Zeekr X will have that feature in Australia. You can option it with that feature. Could be worth considering. I reckon that'd be pretty cool. So what else does it got? Well, it's got a pretty impressive sound system, 23 speaker Harman Kardon sound system with 1,600 watts, amplifiers, subwoofers, etc. Speakers in the front seat headrests. Xpeng G6 has that as well, utilizing Vanos panoramic sound technology. So when it comes to its technology, it has 30 high-performance sensors and uses the Lotus robotic system, which has been validated in 30 countries and supports up to 35 driver assistance functions. Sounds pretty good, sort of like Tesla Autopilot is sort of what it sounds like to me. Highway NOA, so hands-off driving, will be available at launch apparently. I find that hard to believe, but hopefully that's true. I'm going to guess that's true just for China. This is going to be a serious rival. I mean, honestly, if you're the competition, you're seeing this. If you're Neo, you're seeing this. You're going, well, why would someone buy a Neo? It's more expensive than this. This charges faster. This has longer range. I honestly think genuinely, I mean, you can see the Xpeng motor, right? It's, a lot cheaper than this car. Not really competing in the same segment. The technology in this is definitely better than the Xpeng motor. different categories. So I don't think the motor is really the kind of car that this will damage, but this will definitely affect Tesla sales, Model 3 sales, BYD Seal. It's going to be a direct competitor for the Seal. Even Tesla Model S, even other vehicles, like even cannibalize its own company sales, like the Zeekr 001 potentially. Now, I personally would still get the Zeekr 001. I love the design of that car, but this thing's unbelievable for the price. I mean, technology is moving so fast. There's nothing you can do, guys. If you buy a car now, it doesn't matter what you do. It's going to be superseded next year. It's going to be superseded in 6 months. And it's going to keep on happening for the next 50, 100, 200 years. I don't know, until we merge with AI and we forget about cars and don't care. So what are your thoughts? Would you consider a Lynk Co? This company is really technically the first EV. They will have another EV coming, which is going to be an SUV. I'll do a video on that, by the way, this week as well. Would you consider a Lynk Co? They've been around for quite a while, for years in fact, but they've always just made plug-in hybrids, and they're trying to move away from that and do both plug-in hybrids and fully electric cars. But I think honestly, guys, the Geely Group are focusing a bit more on EVs than even BYD are, which is really saying something. Thanks for watching.